What was once a winning message for President Trump is now appears to be a growing liability. Harry, just stay here for a second. Okay. New polling shows independents are turning somewhat sour on President Trump's economic leadership right now with the rollout of his tariff agenda. And that's exactly what Harry Enten was doing, looking into the numbers to bring it to you. Okay, we're focusing in on independents on this one. Yes. So where does he stand with independents? Just kind of base.
Yeah, we'll focus in on independents here. And independents feel that Donald Trump has vacated the center of the electorate, catering to his base. What are we talking about? Well, let's talk about the overall net approval ratings. We're going to look at the worst ever at this point in a presidency. The old record among independents for the worst ever was Donald Trump back in 2016, a net approval rating of minus 16 points. Well, Donald Trump has broken his own record here. He now holds, in this particular term, the worst ever net approval rating at this point in a presidency among independents at, get this, minus 22 points. He is 22 points underwater with independents. That breaks the old record that belonged to Trump. He has set the new record. He is completely underwater with the center of the electorate, Kate Bolton.
And this is overall. This is on all the issues. Now, focus in specifically on the economy.
Yeah, let's focus in on the economy, right? What is driving this overall approval rating for Donald Trump among independents to go underwater? Let's take a look at the economy. And let's take a look at Trump's net approval rating on it and look at the trend line over just the last few months. You go back to January, he was slightly above water with independents at plus 1 point. Look at this drop, Kate. Oh, my. Minus 29 points. That's a 30-point drop in under 3 months of time. What independents are hearing from Donald Trump, they hate. They hate what they're hearing from Donald Trump, and they are abandoning him in record numbers. At this point in his last presidency, he was about at even, at 0 points in terms of his net approval rating on the economy, and now he's at minus 29 points. You go back through the record books, I simply put, Kate Baldwin, can't find anything close to this. This is such a record that there is no historical analogy to be 29 points underwater on the most important issue of the day with independents. This right here, my dear friends, is political poison. If an election were held today and Donald Trump's net approval rating in the economy was minus 29 points with independents, I'm not quite sure how Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives.
Is it all tariffs that are driving this?
Yeah, okay. So let's take a look here at tariffs. This is definitely part of it. A clear plan for tariffs and trade among independents. Look at this. 57% say no. He doesn't even have a clear plan for what he should be doing with tariffs and trade. And when asked whether or not they like the idea of additional tariffs, guess what percentage of independents say no, that they oppose it? It is 2/3. It is 66% of independents who oppose new tariffs. They don't like anything that's coming out of Donald Trump's right now, absent maybe immigration. But when it comes to the economy, when it comes to overall, when it comes to tariff, it's a threesome for negativity among independents. They oppose, oppose, oppose. They simply do not like the words that are coming out of Donald Trump's mouth and the plans that he is putting forward to the American public.
So showing that it's not just economic risk that he's taking with the just wait, it will get better on his tariff plan. It's a political risk as well, which is just wait, it'll get better. So.
You know what? They can wait, what is it, about 18 months until the midterm elections?
Yeah.
But eventually the bill will come due, and we'll see at that time whether or not independents turn around on Donald Trump. It would have to take something historic for it to occur.
Let us see.
We'll see.
John?
All right. With us now is Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, a Democrat from New Jersey. She is running to be governor of that state. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with us. As we said, you're out there running for governor right now. What specifically are New Jersey voters telling you about the president's tariffs?
Oh, I think New Jersey voters are telling me what you were seeing in that poll. They're very unhappy with these tariffs because they're affecting people's day-to-day lives. I mean, here we are having an affordability crisis in New Jersey. I'm running to make sure we can drive down the cost of housing, drive down the cost of utilities, improve the broken healthcare system. And yet Donald Trump is throwing everything into chaos, making everything worse. So I just talked to a local developer who told me he's paused all plans on development because his HVAC guy said that prices were going to go up 30 to 40%. So people cannot make future plans because of this chaotic tariff regime that's going on right now.
You spent a lot of your time on Congress battling China and trying to be tough on China. You were a big backer of the TikTok ban, which is not into effect, and it doesn't seem like will be in effect anytime soon. But that aside, what do you think Xi Jinping in China thinks of the president's tariffs now and how he's operating, given that these exemptions keep on popping up?
I think President Xi is just looking at this thinking, great. I have been trying to topple the predominance of the United States' economy for years now and to grow China's, and Trump is delivering it right into his hands. This chaos is not only bad for citizens of the United States, but of course our trading partners across the world are looking at this and thinking we're going to have to look for markets elsewhere. The United States is no longer dependable here. So where are they going to look? China. That has the other really large economy in the world. And Trump is just delivering to Xi such an economic benefit that it's really jaw-dropping here.
So if you win election in November, you'll have 3 years to deal with this Trump administration. And the question is, how will you do that as a Democratic governor? Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan just took a trip to Washington. I think she was supposed to be meeting with the president on the issue of National Guard bases in Michigan. Instead, she found herself in the Oval Office during some signings of executive orders that dealt with, among other things, the 2020 election and election denialism. She hid her face behind folders because I think she didn't want to be seen there. What lesson can you take from this in terms of how you would like to deal with the administration?
I think I can take the lesson that everybody should be taking. This is an administration that is totally into, how Trump can self-deal, how he can enrich himself and his family and his billionaire friends. So I have to tell you, as we look at what's going on right now, people being picked up without charges, deported to El Salvador, and, the courts ordering them back, and Trump meeting with the Salvadoran president and sort of yucking it up about how they're just going to ignore that. Everyone should be concerned, because then you're next, right? I have served in places across the world where this kind of thing happens. And I will tell you, it doesn't stop here. It goes on to encompass people who speak out against the dictator in charge. So everyone should be concerned, and working with him has such downside risks. So when you see him picking off law firms, when you see him picking off schools, they think they can work here and kind of keep their heads down. It never works out that way. You're always put in that kind of position that we see where it somehow emboldens, enriches, helps Trump, and destroys you and whatever you are on a path to do, including all of the values of this country.
Does that mean you think it's a mistake? You thought it was a mistake for Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, to go try and work with him on things?
Look, I think right now what Democratic governors have to do, what I am running to do, is to provide a different pathway forward from what we see coming from Washington. Not only protecting rights and freedoms in our states, but also working on how we, as Democratic governors, are going to build out the future. How are we going to invest in homes? How are we going to drive down utility costs? These are the things I'm hearing from New Jerseyans is, look, I need you to fight against Washington right now, because everything they're doing is destroying our economy and destroying our freedoms. And I need you to deliver on affordability, because right now it's just too hard here.
You've been outspoken also on U.S. support for Ukraine. As you mentioned, you are a Navy veteran yourself. This is what the president said in the Oval Office just yesterday about the Russian invasion. Listen.
When you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles.
Basically saying Ukraine started a war against Russia, which is 20 times its size. Your view?
And nothing could be more false. Ukraine did not start this war. Russia invaded Ukraine. And so Ukraine was not, had no other opportunity unless they simply wanted to accede to a former KGB agent, dictator, somebody who Trump seems to admire very much, and Putin. Ukraine fought for and is fighting for its freedom. And for Trump to somehow misstate history and rewrite history in this nation, that is what dictators do. That's why we need to fight in New Jersey for a different pathway forward. I have a large Ukrainian American community. They have been stalwart in defending freedom and democracy here at home, and certainly for their family in Ukraine. I have long been an outspoken supporter of the Ukrainian fight for freedom. This is what we have long protected at here and abroad. And to think that now our president of the United States is cozying up to Vladimir Putin at the expense of all of our values, making weird relationships with North Korea. I mean, this is a president who is taking us down a path that was never envisioned by the people of this country, that is contrary to the vision of our founding fathers, and is something that here in New Jersey we are going to stand against.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, thanks so much for being with us this morning.